we're going to do a very small Dead by Daylight short. Let's say 5-minute DVD short. There are 3 things that I would actually like to go over. Cause, well, behavior scanning. First thing, iron grasp. Iron grasp by base. Reduce wiggle effects. Not worried about that particular aspect. Increases wiggle duration by 12% is what iron grasp does. As of the last patch that it had, all the way at 2.63, increased by 12%. It takes 16 seconds to escape from a particular the particular regular wiggle timer. Wow, I can't remember what the hell I was going to say. I had this scripted out in anything, or in everything. It takes 16 seconds by base to escape from a killer's grasp in Dead by Daylight. At level 3 iron grasp, it takes 17.9 seconds. And that's at a 20%, or not 20%, Jesus Christ. That's at a 12% wiggle reduced time. Well, if you do 12% of 16, it equals 1.92. So, behaviors capped you and taken away about 0.02 of a second from you of usefulness. So if you've ever been on a hook and your bar has been, for the most part, completely full as you've been hooked on the hook, that 0.02 seconds might have came in clutch, might not have. It's close though, it's within 0.02 accuracy, which I mean scale wise and things like that, depending on, what you're measuring, which we're measuring whole seconds to 10 seconds. That's, or 1/10 of a second. That's really good accuracy. And then they just estimated it down to 1.9 to make it, easy. Easy number to remember. It takes 17.9 seconds or an additional 1.92 or 1.9. So if you're running iron grasp, you're only getting 1.9 additional seconds. But that enables you to get a lot more distance. As you can see, regular you can get 58.9. I'm assuming that's accurate on a 4.6 meters per second movement. And then at 17.9 you get 65.9. Now, granted, if you take that 0.02 and you up it by and you increase it by the time, you will have a little bit over, a lot more added on to it at the end of the day. But it doesn't necessarily matter. Killer ends up missing out on a very, very little bit amount of distance. But like I said, being down to the point or the hundreds and only 200s is fairly accurate, no problem, Now let's look at the opposite side of this. Breakout. Breakout reduces wiggle time. Well, breakout. If you are within 6 meters of a carried survivor, you gain the haste status effect, moving at an increased speed of several percent, that being 7%. And then, excuse me, the carried survivor's wiggle speed is increased by 20%. If the carried survivor's wiggle speed's increased by 20%, then if you go by Iron Grasp and all of that, then the survivor should get away 20%, faster. The reason why getting full value out of this perk is important is because, one, you have 2 survivors not doing gens right now, so survivors are losing time while using breakout. Behavior makes breakout reduce wiggle time to 13.3 seconds. This is from the fandom wiki, so they're usually accurate on what they say, but it reduces time to 13.3 seconds, estimated, with an estimation, or estimation, assuming the carried survivor is currently or constantly under its effect from the time they're picked up to the time they are hooked. 13.3 seconds. The default wiggle time is 16 seconds. So running breakout, you're only saving 2.7 seconds off of their wiggle timer, and you're gaining a small amount of haste. 2.7 seconds isn't going to make a huge amount of distance unless you have, Saboteur set up or the ability to body block or cause some sort of distraction for them to get off the hook. But the problem I run into is the 20% aspect of the wiggle speed reduction. As you know, 20% should be about a fifth of this particular number. And I've went ahead and did 20% of 16, which equals up to 3.2. 3.2, I've done the math of 16 minus 3.2, which gives you 12.8. If they go off the Iron Grasp rule of thumb, and they round it down to the 10th slot, and since it comes out at 3.2, 3.2 should have been taken off of 16 to make it to where it should only take 12.8 seconds for a survivor to escape Iron Grasp. And if this is correct, and it should only take 12.8 seconds, then either the wiki's wrong, like way off, or Dead by Daylight's halfway scamming the effects. Iron Grasp is accurate to the hundredths of a second. If assuming this is correct, because it's from the fandom wiki and they're usually correct on everything, then this particular thing is about 5/10 off on its time, and behavior scammed you about half of a second. So anytime you're running breakout and your friend's like, oh man, the bar was full, but I ended up getting hooked anyway, that 0.5 seconds could make a difference. That's make or break time. And I can't tell you how many times I've used breakout on a friend or something like that, and their bar be essentially 100% full, and they should be breaking off of the killer's breaking out of the killer's grasp, but they end up getting hooked anyway because the killer gets the hook command a little bit farther from the hook because they throw the survivor on the hook. So in those instances where the killer actually does get said hook when they're not supposed to, keep in mind that there's about a 5/10 of a difference in the accuracy of the 20% of that perk. Now that's assuming that this is correct. It does say estimated 13.3 seconds, which means it's going to be over 3 seconds. So even if you take the estimation out and go down to 13 seconds, it's still 2/10 off. Where Iron Grasp is 2/100ths of a second. Inaccurate. These are tenths of a second inaccurate. What's the point of running Breakout if you're not able to, severely decrease time and make it worthwhile? You know? Because if somebody uses the new boil over, which people are calling OP, you can knock about 4 seconds off of that timer. Boom. Making it 12 seconds. Then taking out the 2.8 would knock that down to, 11 point whatever. And you would be able to get a survivor off the hook just over, 11 seconds. Somewhere around there. It'd be, what? The number was 2.8, right? 12.8. Not 2.8. It's 3.2 off of it. So 4 seconds 12 minus 3.8, which would bring you down to 9.2. 9.2 seconds. If you manage to have them jump from a high height and then somebody uses a breakout. 9.2 seconds, you would be off of that, or out of that killer's grasp. Now, granted, in most cases, there's hooks near enough to places you jump off of to where the killer can just easily hook you. Obviously, there's poor map design and exceptions, like RPD, for example, but that whole map is an exception to most Dead by Daylight rules. And that's severely cutting the time down from 16 seconds to around about 9ish. Whereas running that, which only decreases it by, 2.7 seconds? If we go 13.3, that'd be 2.7 seconds. Minus an additional 2, you would only be losing about 4.7 seconds. Wait, what the hell did I just say? .2. It'd be 3.2 minus 2.7, or plus 2.7. And that would be, 6 point... I keep forgetting the goddamn numbers, dude. Is would decrease this by 13.3, and then you would take another 3.8 off of that. Or no. My mind's gone completely blank. It's so noisy here that I can't even goddamn remember the numbers that I was talking about. But whatever I was talking about before, do the math on that. And that'll get the number and everything that I was talking about. So goddamn noisy. Now, the last thing that I wanted to talk about is the DVD perk Saboteur. Well, I guess not the perk Saboteur, but to use the example of the perk Saboteur and DVD Toolbox add-ons. Okay. First, let's go over the perk Saboteur. Saboteur allows you to sabotage a hook without a toolbox, which only takes 2.5 seconds. The sabotage action has a cooldown of 60 seconds. When you sabotage a particular hook with Saboteur, I'm pretty sure that that hook remains down. It's either like 10 or 15 seconds. Somewhere around there. I want to get an exact number because this is important. Balance wise. The West Band Mall. That's nice. DBZ. Saboteur. Hook respawn time. Tier 1, which is what I generally use, is 10 seconds. I didn't think about the different tiers, actually, because I don't think I have a max Saboteur when I use it. I only have level 1. So that's where I was going off of. I never thought about actually tier 3 Saboteur, because generally you only need about 10 seconds. Bum, 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 bum. I would love to get an actual time because it says 10 seconds, 20 seconds. I'm just gonna assume that it's 30 seconds because I mean the scaling's 10 and 20, but I wonder why they don't say tier 3 here. It kind of don't make any sense, and there's nothing that I can really, Does it show it here? Am I blind again? I am blind again. It tells me the action of the cooldown. And this shows hooks and bear traps that you sabotage stay broken for an extra whatever back in the past. But in the new version, it doesn't say. So I'm assuming it's like 30 seconds or something like that. When I sabotage things, they feel like they come back fairly fast, at like 15 seconds, 10 to 15. So if this is still correct, and the new version, they just added in, a cooldown and all of that, and it uses whatever the regular hook respawn rate is. So anywhere from 10 to 30 seconds, because I know it's at least 10 seconds. I don't know what the high end of that is, and I don't have any supporting information to show you. Hello, Criti. So I don't know. So anywhere from 10 to 30 seconds we're going to use for balance. And then toolbox wise, we're going to look at the sabotage action of this. Saboteur is 50% of normal have that affect sabotage speed, at least add-ons. We're going to scroll down. This decreases sabotage speed, and then you have the 50%. So in order to have Jake Parks be rare, correct? It gives you 24 charges, and you increased sabotage hook speed of 50%. We're not going to be looking at the specialized toolboxes, which you can only get, on New Year's and things like that. Add-on wise, let's see what else you can add on sabotage speed wise. Everything here reduces speed or increases time of repair speed. This suppresses the noise made by sabotaging a hook, which really isn't that great. I mean, I guess it's good if the killer's walking towards a particular hook and you want to hop in there and sabo it before the killer knows, so they don't get a notification and know the turn. But generally, the killer can literally just look and see you and know that you're there. Sabotage speed, you can get a 15% increase there with the cutting wire, and the hacksaw gives you a 20% speed increase. A 20% speed increase and a 15% increase, that is 35% of an increase. And if you use the other toolbox, you can get up to 85% increase in speed. But if you run that, you don't have this, which repairs hooks 15 seconds later. So based on that, I know with this add-on it takes the hook 30 seconds to spawn, so a regular hook takes about 15 seconds to come back by base. And then the iridescent that you have is for repairing generators. So what I would like to bring up during this pseudo DVD short, it happens they come back at the normal time, I think, so about 15 seconds. Gotcha. So what I would actually like to bring to the table is, I mean, you have the perk already in Dead by Daylight that whenever you get pulled by a hook, whatever hook that you were hooked on remains deactivated for, what was it, 3 minutes? It's just one word like this. Breakdown, that's what it's called. So breakdown, each time you're unhooked or unhook yourself, the hook breaks the killer's ore, or the killer's ore is revealed to you, and the hook breaking takes 180 seconds. 3 minutes to spawn. I am aware of this. But what I would like to see is, because they already have a green effect that increases hooks by 15 seconds. But they only have an iridescent add-on for a dual perk, and this iridescent add-on literally only gives you a maximum of 25% on a generator. You guys know it's like 20 seconds. Added on to a particular generator, you still have to sit there for a minute on top of that. So what I would like to throw out there, and this is an unbalanced version, I mean it's a pseudo balance but not 100% balanced version, is an iridescent sabotage perk. That's kind of ridiculous, but not kind of ridiculous. On the ridiculous OP side of things, well, I guess let's start small. On the lackluster version of things, just have a iridescent add-on that adds more time that you get, rarely on your blood web. So instead of having 30 seconds, you can deactivate the hook for, 45 seconds or up to a minute. Just in case, the survivor that's near that particular hook gets clapped. You can go ahead and take out every hook in that area, and they'll have a 45-second to 60-second gap, or as long as your toolbox runs and things like that, to enable free roam. And I know on the lackluster side, it's not that important, it's not that great, but I mean, if you're running with a survive with friends and all of them have the toolboxes and all of them have this particular add-on on it, you're going to be looking at 30 seconds on 4 different hooks in that area being deactivated anyway. And they can probably get multiple activations on every hook and guarantee an escape anyways. So it ain't really stopping much, because if you gotta wait 30 seconds and it takes 16 of that for a hook timer, you're gonna be sitting there waiting for a long time to be able to hook that survivor, all while they're gonna be recovering and able to be picked up before the hook comes back, which is the purpose of this particular add-on and what it's balanced to. So lackluster side, you kind of make it like a almost like brand new part, but you make it last a little bit longer. You know, increase its speed. Probably, well, I guess 2.5 seconds is already pretty fast. You could increase it to like 2 seconds and make it last longer, or increase it, you know, to 4 seconds and make it last a little bit longer. So you're in the danger zone for longer, but you get more value. Very lackluster add-on, and it makes you say, eh. Then I thought about a super OP aspect of this, and have it be an iridescent add-on that completely breaks the hook until the killer walks up and repairs the hook. Repairing the hook will take like 3 to 5 seconds, but if you take out that particular hook, that hook stays deactivated until the killer repairs it. So the killer would have to spend, you know, 3 to 5 seconds of his time, you know, repairing a particular hook. So even if they did, you know, clap a survivor, if you use that add-on, they'd have to walk over to the hook, drop that particular survivor, repair the hook, and it'd just be like an animation of them like lifting their hand up, you know, like saying, entity, really? Repair your shit. And then the hook would, you know, fix itself. Or you could have them pick up the hook and then rehang it like a survivor. It would just be a reskinned survivor where he just throws the hook back up there. And then the hook remains useful again. That way, if you break said hook, you can get 5 seconds of value. You know, if a survivor is being carried to that hook, you can get like 5 seconds of value if you do it in front of the killer. Killer drops survivor, fixes hook, throws survivor on hook. Or you can do it anywhere throughout the match, and if the killer doesn't notice, then the hook's going to stay deactivated the entire match, or until they walk over and fix it. Obviously, it would have to work like a brand new part, and it would have to consume whatever toolbox you're using. And I would even go as far to say you might want to hard limit it to where you have to use, you know, a saboteur style toolbox instead of a dinky brown one, you know. Well, I guess there's only really one saboteur toolbox, and that would be that, and that's kind of so make you use like at least a green, arguably a yellow one, but I'd say make it at least only be equipable in like a green toolbox. So you are losing a decent toolbox, which when you look at them, this one just has a lot of charges in it, and this one's just faster. You would think that the mechanics toolbox would have saboteur speed, but nope. 75% increased gen, 50% increased gen, and then the charges are 16 and then 32. So you could always readapt this particular toolbox or higher and make it to where you have to use the mechanics or Alex's toolbox to get the saboteur, or to get the particular add-on that I'm proposing in on the OP nature. You're losing decent toolbox. It's going to be consumed on use. Do not make it like brand new parts activation though. and make it to where you can decide to do one or another, I would just force it to consume it. Because if you manage to sacrifice 2 hooks, or disable 2 hooks for 15 seconds, and then completely disable a third one, it's kind of bullshit. So don't give it the option, just have it the first hook that they work on consumes the toolbox, boom, drops the hook's down to a killer, finds it and picks it back up. That's on the OP side of things. Add-on wise, iridescent for, the saboteurs. Then you would have to find a middling ground, the where, it adds X amount of charges or something like that, or it does some specific aspect that where you can find a mid ground, like for instance the loosen hooks that people are trying to make a perk of nowadays. Now it's not exactly like theirs because they want to make it to where, having a loose hook enables you to escape and all of this other craziness. But I think that having a middling ground perk that actually incorporates their loose hook. My computer needs to restart, huh? But having a loose hook add-on that isn't iridescent, it's obviously going to be, like a yellow or something like that, but it's another thing that goes towards saboteur or sabotage. It allows you to loosen hooks. Loosen hooks makes, unhook speed, like most of the other loose hooks perks, happen faster. Also, my mind just went blank again. Somebody just walked out the door. What the hell was I gonna say? At least it's quiet now, but I'm about to get off. The whole crux of everything I was just about to say, and now it's gone. Oh yeah. It increases when you're trying to jump off or unhook yourself. It increases your base unhook by 25%. So I guess you could make it like a purple add-on or something like that, because, well, toolboxes don't have any type of purple add-ons. So I guess a purple add-on would be very good to hook that in. But, loose hooks, it allows you to loosen hooks. It gives you a 25% on base chance to be able to hop off said hook. And if the 25% chance goes through and you actually get the unhook, that particular hook falls as well and goes away for 15 seconds. The reason I make it go away for the 15 seconds is because face campers and things like that, I would want it to be like an anti-camping add-on. And you don't want to be getting face camp, get that lucky unhook that you can get with like Deliverance or something like that, and immediately get clapped and rehooked on the same hook. So you should have some sort of chance to run away, albeit you're still going to go back down, but survivors can try to initiate body blocks and saves if that particular hook stays deactivated for at least 15 seconds. Now granted, the killer could just stand there and wait, but I mean, hill tech is a thing, and you have multiple survivors that can jump in for the heals and everything like that. That recovery time, things like that, that'll give survivors that are being face camped or heavily tunneled at least a chance of getting up and being able to do something. It keeps the killers on their toes, and it again, it's not as bad as slippery meat, which you can stack with that and aces, luck perks, and all of that to get like a 9% increase to an like around a 9ish to 11ish increase, which would stack with that, giving you over, around about a 30%, just under a 33%, which is a 1 in 3. Now, it's not running in perk form, so you obviously don't want to give it a lot of value and give it like a huge amount of unhook speed. But a 1 in 4 chance ain't bad to have to run, a rare part for it, or you can make it iridescent, it doesn't really matter. And things like that. Like I said, these are pseudo, just something I spent like 5 minutes thinking about. I haven't went in and super balanced it or anything like that. But I mean, I seen a Dead by Daylight short on Breakout and all of that, and I was just like, that time's not adding up. If that's correct, then that's not 25% of the time survivors are actually not getting the full value of Breakout. Then I looked up Iron Grass, the opposite of it, and killers are getting roundabouts full value. I mean, 2/100ths of a second they're losing versus like 5/10ths of a second survivors are losing on their perk. And that's time off Jin, so survivors are losing a lot more value at the end of the day than killer. And I just found that interesting. Then on top of that, I started looking and thinking about additional add-ons and things like that. The reason I'm doing this, by the way, is I got a comment saying that it's easy for me to stay up on my high horse and talk about everybody else's creation and products and things like that when I don't incorporate anything of my own to be judged by the community. And I'm like, I have my game master concept that I started on and ended up abandoning because, well, nobody showed any interest in it. So I was like, fuck it, There's other things I can do, plus I do reviews and things like that, so, Being a reviewer by trade, I would like to tell that particular person that, hey, I do this for a living. I have 4.5 stars out of 5. I'd have 5 stars if I kissed the ass of the freaking creators like they wanted me to. Not going to do that, so it'll stay 4.5 stars. That is I'm one of the top people of the place that I work for. I gotta make sure I don't actually have that item. No, I do not. Confidentiality and all of that. But I'm one of the top reviewers of where I work at. Very highly respected. I get emails and things all the time to go and review products. Generally, when I'm saying I have something to do or work to do or something like that, I either have a psychology lecture to do or I have a small review to do. Sometimes huge reviews and things like that. Some of these take hours. Some of these take like 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 10 minutes, depending on what it is. If it's like, for example, Raid Shadow Legends is putting out a new patch and they want me to see, how things are, then I'll hop on Raid, get any and every information they send me, play that shit, hop off. Only reason I throw out Raid is because there's no confidentiality type suites or anything like that, so that's something you can talk about all the time. They really don't give a fuck when it comes to shit like that. They want you to say, hey, there's a new patch coming out. It's free advertisement for them. The more people you tell, they understand the more money and things like that they're going to get. But we review different products, different lines, things like that. Some things are stupid, like laundry detergent. I wouldn't say stupid, but, subpar. Not subpar. Simple. Simple things, like laundry detergent. And then websites and all kinds of things like that are either up and coming or they're changing something. Sometimes we get live products. Sometimes we get digital products like, new games and things like that. They need another play tester, somebody who, fresh eyeballs on the scene. We go in, if you have, a computer that can run the shit how they want you to run it. And you go in, you fuck around for a little bit, and then you send your report in. All kinds of different shit, all kinds of different pay. Guess what? I'm not a game creator. I've made maps and things like that. I've made like faux websites off of like wet paint back when that was a thing and things like that. MySpace back when that was a thing, etc., etc. I've made websites, but I haven't created like a professional one. But I still give my reviews and things like that based off, personal experience sometimes. Sometimes it's educated experience. Sometimes I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. And they just want that experience. They want to know what somebody new that has no idea what this product is to see how they'll react with it. Whether it's way too confusing and you end up just saying, fuck this shit, I'm out. Or whether you'll take the time to figure it out, They just want a general audience to say, hey, how would you like this? So, I'm a viewer by nature. Anybody that reviews things or does surveys or anything else knows that there's a lot of products that you go through that you don't necessarily have to have a hand in at everything or every time. That's like saying it to a YouTuber. What right do you have to review and play games to millions of people when you haven't made a game yourself? They're gonna look at you and say, motherfucker, it's my job. I'm an entertainer. Yes, they do reviews and things like that sometimes, but their primary job's entertainment or to relay information. An influencer, etc., etc. So your comment was obviously juvenile in nature, and it comes from a feeling of jealousy. And I'm sorry that you have to go to my wash channel that only has like 20 or so subscribers to complain to a person in order to get that out. The only reason I'm replying back to your comment live is because you obviously are looking for attention, and I figured I would give you the attention that you so much crave. That companionship, that stern talking to that you, for whatever reason, really want from me. That debate. But I am going to have to ask you not to comment on any of my future videos, any type of bullshit like that. I gave you what you wanted. I will not give you another comment back. I will either ignore you and just keep your comments held for review, or if they get too far out of whack, I might just ban you from the channel and go on from there. So that is my answer to you, sir. And this is a perk that I've thought of for a little bit of time, and that is what I'm bringing to the table to try to alleviate some of your jealousy or anything like that. I did preface everything with the fact that I didn't write this on paper. I don't have the idea in front of me that I can keep tweaking and tweaking and tweaking. Everything I thought of was just something that, I mentally thought of, kept it all track of my mind. I'm probably missing some of the things that I thought of. And that's the beginning. Feel free, anybody, to pick up said perk or add-on and take it to the creation forum and actually balance it properly and things like that. But I figure I would just humor somebody, and it gives me content, because now I'm up to what, like 45 minutes, an hour, something crazy like that. I'll have to do it this way. And that's the beginning. 45 minutes. 45 minutes of content on a very short, me just jumping on and, kicking the bucket around a little bit. But those are my thoughts. Those are the things that I found. And I found that a lot of perks that behavior is thrown a big number on that make it seem like it's worthwhile. Like 20% on this, or 80% on this, or a huge amount of percent on this or that, ends up only tipping the scale ever so slightly, like zero point 0.1 or zero point 0.4 or something like that, of something. Or a very, very small millisecond change. And they hide these big numbers in the change log of a whole bunch of things that they changed, like the new update that they had. And they'll hide those numbers in to try and make it look like that they are doing a lot of updates and a lot of content reworks and things like that, when nothing actually is really changing except for like 0.1 or 0.2 seconds. Now the coup de grace update's bullshit. I'm just gonna throw that out there. The amount of range coup de grace already had, it didn't need any more range. That is ridiculous, the amount of lunging range you have now on that perk. And terrifying on Freddy's. But that's all I wanted to do, is get on, touch base, say, hey, this is going to take the place of the Friday Night Funkin' stream for the day, by the way. I didn't have a chance to play the game yesterday because I slept in, so there won't be a Funky Friday probably till the day after the next, because I ain't practiced or anything, so there's that. Also, one of my most viewed videos here recently was the Roblox Funky Friday playing. I mean, if you guys like that shit, I'll play more of it, but somebody feel free to, comment and like, or at least join me, come play when I hop on. Give me a time that you're on, join the Discord or something like that, and we can all just get together and just, shoot the shit and have a little Funky Friday. I don't care if I get clapped in the game. I'm not a guy that's, super hardcore pride like when it comes to things like that. If I was, and you beat me in a game and you were talking shit, the next thing I'd say is, okay, well, live chat me and let's compare dick sizes. So I guarantee you, mine's bigger. Those are pride statements. Me, I'm just like, okay, you beat me in the game, good job, bro. You put in the time, you put in the work, you got that victory, good job. There's no need for me to get mad, especially at a viewer, for beating me in something that they have hours in. If it's something that I put thousands of hours in and I'm beat, I'm generally impressed if I'm actually giving it an honest go, because I don't tend to try my hardest on things. You get about 60%, like my account on Steam. You generally get about 60%. I'm not flexing, and if I've beaten you at 60%, I mean, it generally means that I have like over 10,000 hours in a particular thing, and I just know what to do, a lot more experience. You notice more people that are experienced at jobs, the less work they do, because they figured out the ins and outs of things, and they work smarter with less effort than harder with full effort. They know they're not going to get that raise and all of that, and they're not going to get all the things that they want, and they know the minimum amount of work that's required in things, and they just coast through instead of busting your ass for a 50-cent raise at the end of the year that everybody else is going to get regularly. So no matter how hard you try, you get the same amount as the people around you. So, I mean, unless you're a go-getter and you try hard everything you do, why? You're just using up your body for no reason. When they say know the ins and outs of your job, they're talking about that as well. Know if your job's a dead-end job and you're not going to get very many raises versus a job to where if you actually do bust your ass, you can get somewhere. Manager position, or supervisor, manager position, shift lead, and slowly build your way up, or if you're just going to be a worker that gets a 50-cent raise every year. Know where you're supposed to be, know your steady, your incline rate, and see how far you're going to be able to have in whatever career or job you work. Even if it's somewhere like McDonald's, still know. Because if you know where your end goal is and how far that you could typically go, or how far a typical employee that busts their ass goes, you can set a plan for your future. If you're getting paid $10 an hour now, but people that generally do good in your field get up to $30 an hour, then you can make future plans on as you steadily go up, and towards the end of your career you should be at an upwards of 30. So you want to keep applying or getting those raises and keep working towards the 30 an hour. If your job pays $7 an hour and the end goal that you're ever going to get is $12 an hour, maybe speed run your ass to that $12 an hour, as fast as reasonably possible, and plan that when you get to that $12 an hour, which you hopefully will be quicker than 20 years, you have a backup plan for when you want more money, or if you're generally happy at the job that you do, but your max is $12 an hour, you can plan to have a future on that $12 an hour. Start saving money, maybe start investing, maybe put money in a 401k or anything like that. Save more off of a paycheck, so you'll have the chance to save up for a house or a car or anything else, or a rainy day, or if your car breaks down, or for emergencies, or you get another significant other, or the boys want to go out, or you knock your girlfriend up, or you get a girlfriend. And those expenses start changing. You'll have budgets and things set up so you don't run yourself into the ground and live in debt like almost every other American. So, I don't know. Just know the job, I guess is what I'm saying. If you're going to work like a bot every day, you're going to be paid like a bot, and you're going to be viewed like a bot. If you go to work knowing the ins and outs of the job, what you need to do, what the efficiency rating is, and where you need to, come in at, things like that, you generally will have an easier time versus busting your ass and getting number one on the line every week and then getting the same 50-cent raise that everybody else is getting. Or, you'll get 55 cents instead of the 50 cents. How often people get raises that apply for them, well, I guess demand them, but I'm going to say apply for it to keep it kind of professional. Things like that. And for God's sakes, whenever you start a job, unless you are walking into an office of a job that's like a temporary job agency, or the job has a super high, well, even if it does have a super high turnover rate, do not walk in, have the person giving the actual job offer you minimum pay, and then take it without trying to do any type of negotiation. The reason that interviewer is there is strictly for negotiating terms with you. You are wasting his time and you are wasting your time. If you walk in, they give you a 5-second, yeah, he looks good. He looks like he can work here. Okay. Come back in, on so-and-so, and we'll start you. You're wasting everybody's time doing that. He is generally there, and you got the interview and all of that because you were already qualified for the job. If you weren't qualified for the job, they wouldn't call you. He is strictly there for people who want to negotiate terms. So if you're just going in and accepting jobs, especially if you have qualification, previous skill, previous time, etc., in the field. I mean, if you're a pleb off the street, you've never worked in your life, then you might want to take minimum, whatever the minimum is on your first job, things like that. Or if you're going into a job that you have literally no experience in, or no work time, or, because, like, if you're working at a fast food place and you're going to a factory job, yeah, you're used to standing on your feet and things like that. They could give you a minimum raise, but it's not going to be anything huge that you get on top. They're going to say, okay, you worked at fast food, whatever skills you have. You also need to learn how to spin your skills on an application. Don't say worked in fast food for 10 years, you know. Was a manager, shift lead, whatever, manager. Very ambidextrous, Can stand for hours on end, can do multiple things with hands, while also multitasking at the same time, Really list the skills that you learned from your job. Don't just say, was line cook at Burger King for 10 years. Or I was manager at Burger King for 10 years. Like, list the leadership skills and everything else, and do what I do when I stream, and take a very small amount of information and drag that motherfucker out to make it look really impressive. Well, I wouldn't say really impressive, but you should make it look as impressive as possible and give that person as much content as possible. Now, I ain't saying you should bullshit with them and start, going on rants and saying things like that. You should keep it, professional, and you should keep the relevant things that actually make you look good and make you stand out. The topics and things you want to talk about, but you shouldn't keep it basic. If I would have hopped on and said the 3 things that I wanted to cover and then hop back off, I would have been on in all of 2 minutes. Everybody would have said, why the fuck did you even get on if you're only going to stay on 2 minutes? So, just keep in mind that that's a thing. They don't teach that shit in schools nowadays. They want to say that you want to go to college and do all of this other shit. But they never say anything about working and things like that. Heck, most people in college end up having to work unless they're in, like, a very high tier college where, all of your time has to go to your studies because they just swamp you with work. Because the college has a reputation to maintain and all this other BS. But general college, like community college, things like that, technical school, etc., most people will have jobs because they have to pay for their expenses. Things like that, Mommy and daddy can't cover everything. So just keep in mind that, the jobs you work at, the skills you have, you are gaining skills every day you walk into a job, and keep track of that shit. You never know when things are going to change. You could walk in one day after working a job for 20 years, fuck up one time, lose your job. You can go drinking with the boys. And there just so happen to be, a drug screening or an alcohol screening or a drug test or alcohol test or something the next day, and you end up getting fired for it because it was just a surprise test, or the whatever owner or manager that's higher up stops by and he's like, what the fuck? Why are you in here drunk and hungover and all of that? You're fired. I'll send somebody else to take your place. Things happen, and they happen unexpectedly, and you should be able to bounce back when things like that happen. You shouldn't be living your day-to-day life like a bot or a drone, just getting up without thinking about everything every day, going to work, coming home, eating, and then going to bed. You're not living your life. not doing anything fun if you're working all the time and then sleeping and then working and then sleeping and then working and then sleeping. Next thing you know, you have all of this money, and then when you're on your off days, you end up sleeping in to catch up on the lack of sleep and everything else you've got throughout the week. Or on the other end, you're spending a fuck ton of money that you don't need to spend because you need to fulfill your recreation that you lost during the week. It's the reason why they say, wiggle while you work. You know, try to have some fun on the job. I'm not saying be an idiot or anything like that, but, try to get that recreation need while you're at the job, instead of just sitting there, make it worthwhile. When you're on lunch, instead of sitting in a corner for, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, hour, however long your lunch is, why not go talk to other coworkers or find some other things to do or turn on some music and jam or talk to somebody new, have a little bit of fun in your life while you can. When you get home, when you're showering and shit like that, have fun. Maybe spend an hour a day of your time incorporating it into doing something fun. If you have children, incorporate it in doing something fun with said children. But you should set some time to yourself to where you're not just stuck spending, the 1 or 2 days you have off trying to jam all your recreation into one time. Because what generally happens is you work yourself to death in America, and the time you do get off, you end up getting, that vacation time, and people end up going on these big vacations and spending, a week and most of their saved up money that they save for the year on that particular week, trying to get all the fun for the year that they missed out at one time. And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with going on vacation, but if you're going on vacation to release all the stress from the year of working and being a bot for the most time, it's not a very good balance of your life. But I'm not going to harp any farther than that. I'm telling you things that you already know, but you generally don't pay attention to. So I'm just trying to make people to have a double take and think about things in their life. Either way, regardless of what you do, whether you think I'm full of shit and you're not going to listen, or you're coming up with some bullshit excuse right now in your mind to why you can't do any of the things that I said or anything like that, and you're adamantly disagreeing with what I'm saying, doesn't matter. At the end of the day, only thing I'm saying is supplement your lifestyle. And I will see you next time.